everyone, it's Outrider here and welcome to A Blast from the Past, a online nostalgic convention pulled together by the brains of Rudy Zazoo and I suppose delivered by a number of YouTubers from across the globe who are mainly focused in the Transformers and action figure community. Now, I wanted to share with you today my love for Powerglide, and it was a bit of an unintentional, unplanned love for Powerglide that I didn't actually realise I had until I was sorting through some boxes the other day. Now, this is my first ever Transformers VHS. The VHS that really introduced me to Transformers. I saw the movie from the video shop when we used to rent videos, but this is the first one I actually owned, and it's seen better days. You can see some of the description of this episode on the back here, so if you want to have a read of that, you can. 23 minutes in length. 1990 this was released. The Girl Who Loved Powerglide on the side, and again on the side, not much on the top, and a picture of Megatron at the front. And I can't remember if he was actually in this episode or not, because it mainly focuses around Powerglide, a young lady called Astoria, and I think the main villains in it are the Coneheads. So this was released in 1990, but 5 years previous we got our first Powerglide toy, and this is my childhood Powerglide toy. Always with Powerglides, you end up with a little stress mark on either one of these sides. I think I tried to fix this one with a little bit of heat, and it seems to be okay. Got his rub sign on there, of course he has. Let's give that a bit of a rub his crotch. That's a lovely action. You can just about see it on there. But yeah, typical G1 figure, one of my favourite mini-bots. A decent amount of articulation in the arms and on the head. Nothing in the legs, but for a mini-bot, that was pretty good. I love the face. His wings don't normally... Well, I've tightened... They stay in place, but if you move them about a little bit, they do tend to move. A little bit of rust here and here on some of the screws. And this actually says 1984. This is a Japan Takara one. So let's get him transformed up. Really simple. Some joints are really, really tight on this. Really, really tight. But of course he transforms into this wonderful little plane. It's really cool. Really cool. One of my favourite mini-bots. It was great to have an Autobot that can fly. This was our only representation of Powerglide for a long, long time. In fact, you have to wait 23 years until 2008's Transformers Generations Universe line gave us a Voyager Powerglide. This is a figure I actually forgot I had. It did exactly what the universe and the Chug line at the time tried to do, is to reimagine the character in a more modern design. And to see Powerglide so big compared to his G1 figure was incredible. And these were Voyagers. Remember when the Voyagers were this big? Absolutely mental. Now, the design I think has dated a little bit. I mean, he's got bigger boobs and borders, dude. But it was great to see a new look for Powerglide with very similar aesthetics to what he had before. For example, he's got the wings that come up here. He's got obviously that iconic, even more modern looking face. And this one actually comes with some lights and sounds as well. Remember when Transformers figures used to do that? There you are. Will you shut up? Yeah, so you end up having lights and sounds in there as well. I thought this was a leader for a moment. I thought, imagine having a leader Powerglide, but it was definitely a Voyager. Now, one of the things you'll notice is the red colour becomes an accent to a kind of like beige colour. I know Brad will be really excited about seeing a beige bot on telly. Yeah, it was a little bit of a mashup, and you can actually get a red version of this. Now, this guy, he hasn't aged too well. This is probably a little bit of a junker. I'm missing his gun. I think I got it from a car boot sale. And one of the wing tabs have broken off. It holds in place, but they do fall off. But nevertheless, I think this worked. Even though the proportions are a little bit wacky, it was a really, really cool robot mode. Here is Powerglide all transformed up in his stunning alt mode. This is a lovely, lovely figure. He has got landing gear as well, which is pretty cool. I've got to fold these out so we can have that kind of stuff going on the go if you want to have some landing gear. I think that's how it works. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't hold together the best, let's be honest. The wings feel a little bit floppy, but that might be due to the age of the figure. It is... Oh, I haven't got it transformed right, that might be why. That might be why. There we are. Now he's transformed right. Yeah, it's a cool figure. And something that... I don't know, I'd forgot about how great some of the early Chug figures were. I've recently got out my Classics Hot Rod and Cyclonus, and they are absolutely wonderful figures. They are really stylised, just like this, but it's great to have an updated version of the G1 characters. Still the same character, still the same core, the same essence, but an update nevertheless. And I think this really worked for Powerglide. I think it was an odd choice at the time, I suppose. But looking back, I mean, imagine not having a toy for 23 years, a mini-bot, and then being presented with this. It's a lovely figure. It's the biggest Powerglide that we've got to date. And you know what? Even though it's got its quirks, I really enjoy this version of him. So we didn't have to wait another 23 years to get another version of Powerglide. In fact, thanks to Dark of the Moon and Bayverse, we only had to wait another 3 years. And this was the Commander Cyberverse Commander class figure. And here he is in his alt mode. Again, with a lot of the Bayverse stuff, things look a lot more realistic. And this figure does that pretty well. The alt mode is pretty realistic and more of a modern take on this look. I am missing one of the weapons pieces here. I think I got this from like a Spock lot or something like that. I forgot I even had it. But the alt mode is pretty cool. Again, next to the G1 counterpart, you can see there how that looks. It's a little bit bigger. But yeah, it's a cool figure nevertheless. So let's get him transformed. So here is old Powerglide all transformed up. One thing you'll notice is that the red is a lot deeper on this figure. Some of the iconic Powerglide parts, like the wings that come up here, are missing from this version. The wings are on the arms, but the head, and I don't know if you can see it too well there, is a pretty good representation of I suppose a live action version of Powerglide. And it's okay. It's okay. Like a lot of the Bay stuff, it has its faults. It doesn't hold together too well. It tends to fall apart. But you know what? It's another version of Powerglide. And at this point, we've only had 3 versions of this character. So you know what? Let's just be thankful in 2011 we actually got this guy. And really, he went that much under the radar. I didn't even know I had him in my collection, as I say. But nevertheless, he's a cool little figure. And another Powerglide mould I have. Then, only a year later, we get Botshot's Powerglide. Now, this is one I got from a car boot sale that my son plays with. So, it's not technically in my collection, but I have borrowed it out of his toy box. Just as another Powerglide that we got, and it's a cool thing. And these things were very, very silly and don't tend to hold together very well, but actually Powerglide really does. Bit different to see a jet version of it, and I think what you do is you hit it and it pops up, and then you've got the robot mode. And again, considering all of these transform the same, I don't think that's a bad little representation of Powerglide. The thing in his chest does spin round, so you can see. I don't know how the game works, but I think depending on what this lands on, then that's his attack and defence and everything like that. But nevertheless, it's a cool little figure, and I'm happy to. Well, my son's happy to have him, but it's another figure that we have from Powerglide. So let's have a look at the final mainstream release of Powerglide today. Before we do that, let's throw in a little curveball. There was in 2013. Another version of Powerglide which was released. It's the Creo version. Again, one that I've had in a box for a while. I went through a little stage of getting all these. And yeah, this is another version of Powerglide that I have. This, I think, was in a blind bag, not in like any of the bigger sets. Why he's got null rays, I'll never know. But there you are, a Creo version of Powerglide as well. So we had 3 in 3 years. Fair enough, one was a bot shot and one was a Creo. But let's get on and look at the final, and in my opinion, the best version, cartoon accurate version. And that is 2015's Legends Combiner Wars version. This, at the time, I thought was an amazing toy, and I still think it is now, but it is a little bit dated. This was released in numerous decos. It was released in a G2 version, along with the Generation 2 Superion, because this could turn into some form of gun for Superion. It doesn't look like a gun. It was also released as a Viper here, which is a homage to the G.I. Joe Viper Jet. I think it was a Viper Jet, which was a vehicle toy back in the 80s as well. And you can see there you've got the Cobra and Decepticon logo together. Pretty cool little homage there. But yeah, Powerglide here, probably the best representation to date. He is the version that I display. He's actually back there as part of my Season 1 and Season 2 cast. He doesn't come with a weapon, which is unfortunate. And he, I think he's a little bit dated now. I think we need a new version of Powerglide. Hopefully we get one in Kingdom, because I know they are doing a Hoffa and everything like that. But yeah, Powerglide here, a little bit dated, but a cool figure nevertheless. Let's get him transformed up. I know we've seen him in blue, but let's see him in his actual alt mode. And here he is in his alt mode. Not the best, in my opinion. It really struggles to hold together at the back here. You can see him size comparison rise with the G1 version. But nevertheless, I think this is still the best version we have to date. I think it needs an update. I think it really does need an update. But at the time, I remember seeing this and thinking, wow, this is amazing. And this is what pulled me back into collecting Transformers. I know looking back, Combiner Wars is a little bit dated now, but seeing those G1 representations looking kind of how they should, it really did pull me back in. But here is the final version of Powerglide from the Hasbro mainstream line. So there are 2 third-party versions of this character. One of them by Make Toys, really old, one of their first cuts into the third-party world. I think it comes as a 2-pack with Sea Spray, I think. I've never seen it in the flesh and I don't own it. But what I do own is the DX9 version, which I think is called Richtofen or something like that, or Richtofen or something like that. It's Powerglide. It's DX9 Powerglide. Now, this isn't the KO version. This is the real version. And in my mind, even though it is a third-party figure, it is the best representation of Powerglide we have had so far, in my opinion. It comes with his blaster that's accurate to the cartoon. His chest does open, I believe. Let me open it up. Yep, there we go. And I don't know if you can see, there is a heart in there, which is really cool. And it feels wonderful, feels really nice. The metal, I think it's metal here, is painted in a lovely pearlescent colour. And it's a great looking figure. I've never transformed this. You know me and my third party Transformers are masterpieces. I see them more as highly posable action figures and statues and actual Transformers. I don't get the pleasure of transforming these as I do some of the mainline figures. But it doesn't come alone. It actually comes with a little figure of Astoria as well, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. So yeah, in my opinion, I've got a lot of love for the majority of these versions of Powerglide. But to me, it's the one that I played with as a child, replaying that episode, and it's the one as an adult I bought to represent that episode in my collection. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed the watch along of a Generation 1 episode. I hope you've enjoyed a walkthrough of the Powerglides in my collection, and I really hope that you're enjoying A Blast from the Past. Until next time, I've been Zork Rider, and I'll catch you again soon.